Hi, this is Melissa Vasquez with MPA 594, and this week's presentation, General Public Administration. Uh, I'm going to discuss if what is different about public sector or what isn't with public sector and private sector. So the uh, the agencies that I have chosen are California Department of Public Health and the Safe Quality Food Institute. CDPH's mission is to protect and improve the health of consumers and one way of doing this is by assuring that foods that are manufactured are safe and that they're not falsely advertised. On the other hand, we have SQF, which they work with industry or provide services to industry to help establish food or to help establish sound food safety programs in order to protect the customer's brand, their buyers, and the customer's bottom line. So the themes overall, although they share some commonalities, overall they are inherently different in the way they conduct business. And the themes that I'm using for this presentation are accountability, leadership, and efficiency and equity. In terms of accountability, well, CDPH is accountable to the public. They need by ensuring that they are safe, that the foods are manufactured are safe. This is done through legislation, um, whether it's federal mandated um, laws or California laws. Um, the CDPH is to make sure that whatever it does is for the better of or the safety of the consumer. But they are also held accountable to other government agencies, and this is an example of cooperative federalism in the way that the CDPH will implement regulations, federal regulations, and state regulations. Um, and for instance, other federal agencies will come and conduct audits to make sure, such for instance, like FDA or USDA, whatever the program is, in order to make sure that California is um, their programs or their implementation is it's being implemented and is effective. In terms of the private sector, well, I think they indirectly they are accountable to the consumer, but first and foremost, they're going to be accountable to the businesses that they provide services to. And this is going to be also driven not just by the customers that they get, but the customers of the customers. So, and it's going to have a trickle down effect to what does the consumer want, and that's going to drive the sales of the customers who are buying from SQF's customers. So the accountability, although at the end of the day it has a trickle down effect to what the consumer wants, the primary, um, uh, I guess, the primary layer that they're accountable to is their customers and the customers' customers. In terms of leadership, uh, this is this is pretty much very different from private sector. In public sector, we have governor or the governor who appoints an official to CDPH, and from there on, administrators are hired through the through a merit system, which through the merit system, and they are there to implement what the elected officials push as their agendas. This is an example of, Woodrow Wilson's dichotomy and the Pendleton Act, which was meant to prevent elected officials from appointing families or whoever did favors for them. While in the private sector, it's going to be I mean, it could be anything. It could be based on experience. It could be based on how um, the how much profit they brought to other companies, on various other factors that are mainly having to do with profit margins. Finally, there's efficiency and equity. And although this is when I feel like there's similarity, because both sectors will want to be efficient and cost effectiveness now, and be cost effective in the way they conduct business. But the difference is that for SQS, for instance, it's going to be their the way they operate is going to be based on how much money or how much they can maximize their profits. And maybe Taylor will be a driving force for SQF, um, being very methodical about their operations, while for government, first we're going to think about, what is a public interest, which is something that Appleby um, kind of touches on, that government is going to be first and foremost is going to focus on making sure that the playing field is level and that people are getting their needs met. For instance, CDPH, um, that no matter what level of what economic level the person is or the consumer is, that everyone's going to get safe food. Um, at the same time, there's something else that may not happen with SQF, but there's going to be uh, political interest. And what I mean by political interest is that certain, let's say that there was a death because of consumption of some novel commodity. There's going to be interest groups who push this issue to legislation, and an official that is interested in pushing this legislation might get elected, and then this is going to have a trickle down effect, that if they get elected, then legislation is going to come down or be created or be developed in order to push these political interests, and finally so that CDPH um, has to implement these changes. Something similar happened when people were getting sick with sprouts. So there was a political agenda to have regulations over these commodities that were not under regulated before. So finally, um, are they are they different in all unimportant aspects? I think that overall they share commonalities, but the way they conduct business is inherently different from the private sector. Uh, Feedback, comments, it is greatly appreciated. Thank you.